Real Madrid sold us Varane, then they sold us Casemiro, and now they might be about to do it again. According to The Telegraph's James Ducker, one of the most reliable journalists covering this club, Manchester United are keeping a very close eye on Aurélien Tchouameni, the man who was brought to Real Madrid specifically to replace Casemiro. Could now follow Casemiro straight to Old Trafford, and honestly, the more you look at the details, the harder it is to say no to this one.
Well, maybe, just maybe, it is Tchouameni or Camavinga, because the big story coming in overnight was that Manchester United have and are looking at Tchouameni from Real Madrid. Now, look, let me give you the exact details on this because there is still mention of Belabor. Manchester United are keeping a close eye on Aurélien Tchouameni's situation. He features prominently on their shortlist of candidates to replace Casemiro as they seek a new top-class number 6 this summer. Any move could hinge on Real Madrid signing a new midfielder this summer, and they need to sell to finance that deal. Florentino Perez, the club's president, is known to admire Rodri. Now, you could say, not again. I like saying that. Not again. You could say not again because this technically is making the same mistake we made with Ugarte. Ugarte looks decent at PSG. PSG want to upgrade him for a player that we should be going for, João Neves, and PSG get João Neves, we get Ugarte, and basically we're just taking the shit of other clubs to help them get better. And we have done this before with Real Madrid. We took Varane at the end, we took Casemiro at the end, so they can go and get better than us. Is that just an acceptance of who we are now, though? I mean, I don't want this to be the case, but there is a ladder to climb. We can't go from step 1 to step 10. If Real Madrid want to sell Tchouameni to get Rodri, then obviously we're not signing Rodri. And also, Tchouameni, in my opinion, is a good player. Exactly, Max. I completely agree with you. So you could say, not again. We're helping out a big club so they can buy a better player and we take the player they don't want. You could say that, but we're not Real Madrid. We're not Real Madrid. We're not competing for titles and we're not competing for Champions Leagues. We're Manchester United, who historically really do struggle to get in the Champions League. And although not again works, Tchouameni shits all over our midfield. He is better than Casemiro at the moment. He is better than Mainu at the moment. And ultimately, upgrade makes sense. So look, I actually quite like this story. I don't know whether it will develop into anything, but this is a sort of signing that actually makes me feel a little bit happy. And it probably won't come to anything because as Max, you're on form tonight. Do you want to do this morning? Do you want to do the show? He said he's 26. Well, he's actually 27 in January, Max. So that puts him on the borderline of United's ridiculously stupid parameter, because what we want to do is replace experience, as I was talking about yesterday, as well. So a 26 going into 27-year-old is actually perfect because you get 5 years of experienced midfielder. And what better experience than going from Monaco to Real Madrid for a few years? And, you know, he is better than what we have. So look, I would love this to grow into something. I'm as I've always said, I'm very tentative when it's actually something that I want, because I'm like, let's not over-egg the pudding here. Let's not run away with ourselves. It is a decent sourced article in The Telegraph by James Ducker that Manchester United are monitoring Tchouameni. And I suppose the question I would put to you and get in the comments whether you're watching live or not.
But here's what makes this story even more interesting. Because it's not just about the numbers. It's about what this move would actually mean for Tchouameni and for this club.
There's correlation there, isn't there, with Casemiro. Casemiro obviously left Real Madrid in a similar position, came to Manchester United. Casemiro is leaving Manchester United, so could United get Casemiro's replacement from Real Madrid? Does that all make sense to you? Something like this is quite rare. I know we've had Varane and Casemiro from Real Madrid, so it's not impossible, it's not unheard of, but it is quite rare. I think those are the only two sort of big name players we've had from Madrid of late I can only think of. Remind me if I'm wrong. But it makes sense. It does make some sort of sense. I think there's loads of ifs and buts and maybes here though. I mean, for starters, we don't know what his wages are going to be like. When we signed Casemiro and Varane, we had this sort of almost limitless wages idea, didn't we? I think Casemiro ended up on about 350k a week. Varane probably wasn't far off that, probably on about 280, 300k a week, because that's one of the reasons that enticed him to leave Real Madrid and come to Manchester United. Are we able to do that with Tchouameni? Are we able to offer him those kind of wage deals? Probably not, but we can offer him good money. Well, he's not going to be on, you know, on the breadline, is it? Also, and I'll keep saying this, and people don't like to admit it, I think United fans will admit it, but other rival fans don't like to admit it. If you leave Real Madrid, there are only about 3 clubs in the world you can go to of the same stature as Madrid, or a similar stature. One is Bayern Munich, one is Juve, and one is Manchester United. Now, you might go Barcelona. You ain't leaving Real Madrid to go to Barcelona. I mean, it has, you know, I know those clubs have had players that have gone from one to the other, and, you know, we all know that they were getting pigs' heads thrown at them and all sorts, but it's not really happening. So there's only like those 3 clubs, I think, that are of similar stature. You might argue that the Scousers are up there. You might argue one or two others, but I think there's only so many clubs that have that sort of worldwide fan base, that historic stature, that sort of, you know, brand recognition, I think I'll call it. But the biggest clubs in the world are the clubs I've mentioned. So going from Real Madrid anywhere else to going to Manchester United, it isn't a big step down. It isn't. People might like to say it is, and in terms of winning trophies and stuff, at the minute, you can admit, I'll admit it is, because United aren't winning Champions Leagues and challenging for Champions Leagues and winning titles and stuff like that and challenging for titles. We know that, but in terms of the size of the club, it isn't a huge step down, and it could be appealing to someone like Tchouameni, who's going to go, look, if I'm going to leave Madrid, going to Manchester United.
Casemiro was the best midfielder we've had in years, and now he's leaving. The question isn't whether Tchouameni is good enough to replace him, because he clearly is. The question is whether Manchester United are brave enough to actually go and get him. The fee makes sense, the age makes sense, the position makes sense, everything lines up. So United, don't overthink it, go and get him. Would you want Tchouameni in a red shirt? Drop it in the comments, and if you're not subscribed yet, join the Red Devil family right now.